All right, what's up, guys? Today we've got Abish, our creative director here, joining us to talk about some really interesting trends that are happening in the world of social media, especially around these algorithm changes. So, what's really cool about Abish is he is a content creator himself, and he's an influencer with over 500,000 followers on Instagram. He's got a ton on TikTok and YouTube growing as well. So, he's a really interesting guy. He's found some tips and some tricks, maybe some algorithm hacks that we wanted to share with you guys from his personal experience. But before we dive into that, Abish, give us a little bit of a background on you and what you're doing online.
Yeah. So I've been in the social media space for about 5 years now, growing my audience slowly but surely. Up until last year in October, was growing pretty steadily on there, well, on Instagram specifically, and on other platforms as well, including YouTube. But my main audience is on Instagram. So grew for about 4 years, and then the new algorithm hit last year, and things just went downhill from there.
Yep.
Yeah. So after the new algorithm hit, I like about 90% of all other influencers kept blaming my own content, kept blaming myself, until I realized that it wasn't our fault at all. It was just how Instagram is moving and the direction it's moving in. And so yeah, adapting there was pretty hard.
Yeah, as I imagine, I mean, it's something that we hear from creators all the times. Anytime any of the social platforms change their algorithms, it helps some, it hurts others, right? So I think what's been really interesting and what's been all over the news is sort of the shift from an algorithm that focuses only on the people that you follow and that content that you engage with, all the way to what's being called as a recommendation engine. So
Mhm.
TikTok came in. Obviously, they've been around for a while, but with COVID and everything, they really took off. And so what we found was that TikTok got really, really smart in that algorithm and figuring out what you wanted to watch. And so when you log on to TikTok, you're not just seeing the content of people you follow, you're also seeing a lot of what TikTok believes you want to follow. So, and they are very, very good at this.
Mhm.
And so obviously Instagram in particular has taken lead here and said, okay, we have to figure this out because we need to guard the average amount of time that users are spending on our platform to ensure obviously that we can continue, strong revenue trends. So they came in and announced that they're going to start doing that. And it's Adam Mosseri, who is the lead for Instagram. He's come out and said, look, he was the one that dropped the bomb on video being a focus. We've seen that happen with Reels. And he's now the one that has come and said, look, we're changing for better or for worse. And it's time to do it, and we've got to do it. And I don't think that they're wrong. I know people are always going to push back. They're saying, hey, Instagram is a photo-based platform. We don't want it to be video. We don't want this. But I want to be careful here because it's not that platforms know what we want better than what we do. But I think that they are wise to do this because obviously TikTok's having so much success that people are gravitating towards that level of content. And so I think you've got to be wise and kind of follow the trends effectively.
Well, yeah, I completely agree. I definitely agree with the idea of potentially a platform like Instagram moving in the direction of the current trends and what future trends should be. The place where I think TikTok is doing a better job is not only the fact that you said, like, where it was smarter and it had smarter AI that can recommend better videos for people. I think it was from the very beginning that it wasn't supposed to be an app that you just follow people and that's all you see, where Instagram was that is the precedent Instagram set. And TikTok always had the option of when you open the app, the first thing that pops up isn't the following page. The first thing that pops up is the For You page. And what's great is that it took me one swipe to go to the people that I was only following, and then a swipe back to go to For You. Instagram tried to replicate this, quote unquote, and I definitely want to explain this by saying, oh wait, we're gonna put the following tab and the favorites tab on the logo of Instagram. So now if you just want to look at the people that you follow, just go on that tab. Well, yes, it's not too inconvenient, but it's still more inconvenient than what TikTok has, where it's
Right.
a swipe. Now I have to click on this button and then go into the following.
Mhm.
This is a first world problem.
But it is a
it's-
problem that's
but it is a
consistent
problem.
with Instagram, right? And they've tried to fix this in the past, right? Because you've got a small screen and you're trying to do a whole bunch on a very small screen, right? Or sorry, it's like a small amount of
Mhm.
real estate effectively, right? If you remember like years and years and years ago, remember they tried to launch separate apps with like hyperlapse?
Yes.
Remember that? So they've tried to solve this problem in a bunch of different ways. I mean, I thought they solved it with stories really well, having it at top. All of the other platforms obviously followed suit there. That made a lot of sense. But we saw the same thing happen with like Instagram TV. It's like, where do you put it? Where does this belong? It's too much.
Yeah, it was. I think at a point, Instagram TV got to be too much, and they weren't really pushing it anyways.
Right.
People's content wasn't going anywhere with Instagram TV. They tried to do a lot with trying to pay people as
Sure.
well and follow the YouTube suit, but it just wasn't working. So I think the overall conclusion there is Instagram tries to be like every other platform, and it ends up doing too much or too little.
Right.
Or just enough to not be good enough.
Well,
Um,
but that's the reality is that's why they did so well with stories over Snapchat,
yes.
right? Is like they didn't have to do a whole bunch, right? They already had. I remember explaining this to brands and influencers at the time is like, why would I go over to Snapchat and try to build an audience there if I can do the same thing on Instagram where I already have 500,000 to 2 million followers on Instagram? It's much easier. So that
Mhm.
was a very natural fit. Whereas I think this is a total user experience shift, right? And it's harder to swallow because Instagram is so ingrained in so many people's lives, and
Mhm.
people just get accustomed to routine,
Yeah,
right?
and I think that's what ended up happening for a while is that people like me got accustomed to that routine and accustomed to the previous algorithm that was working really well for a lot of us, especially bigger creators who were trying to grow. And I think I don't know if a lot of the smaller creators know, but once you get to a certain point, and for me it was around the 400,000 mark. Once you get to a certain point, things start slowing down.
Right.
You're not gaining the following by tens of thousands every month anymore. You're starting to gain by maybe 1 or 2 thousand, or even slower than that. And it does start slowing down. So getting accustomed to the idea that Instagram was working a specific way, and this is how, this is the hack to it for me, and this is what's working.
Right.
And then
And this, by the way, is the same for brands, right? We're
yes,
talking about
exactly the
influencers, but
same
it's
for
going to be the
brands.
same for brands when you're
Mhm.
growing and growing, and all of a sudden, the rug
Yeah.
gets pulled out from under you. And brands, I think, are no stranger to this level of frustration. Okay, so before we get too deep into algorithm conversations, I want you to share a little bit with our listeners about what you've had success with and how you've kind of figured out a hack to the current algorithm on Instagram.
Yeah, I mean, after last October, it just took a while. It was a lot of trial and error. It was a lot of trying to figure out if it was my content, if it was Instagram, or what was the problem here. Sooner or later, everyone found out that it was Instagram and that was the problem. So it was now about trying to either steer into the skid, or should I keep creating the content that I'm creating and just let it do whatever it does.
Mhm.
Um, and then my wife and I got together, and just as a little background, I was a fitness influencer, still am to this day, but we do sprinkle in a lot of lifestyle stuff, and the reason for that is because my wife and I sat down and we were like, okay, let's just try this. Let's try creating content together. On our previous post together, even pre new algorithm, our posts always did really well. So we were like, let's just go ahead and steer into the skid and let's try it. Lo and behold, we start posting about a month ago
And this is
together.
posting with both of you, right?
Both of you, yes. So we started posting together. And specifically, we would use the collaboration tool. So she had about 7,000, almost 7,000 followers. I had around 524,000. And So we started using the collaboration tool. We started making sure that both of us were on in frame all the time, no matter what. Or if we weren't in frame together all the time, it was at least quick cuts so that people saw that both of us are involved in the video. I think that was really important as well. A lot of factors played into this. So it's not just one thing or the other, but two of the main things is there's multiple people in the video now, and we're specifically using the collaboration tool from the bigger account. So we're using it from my account. Here's the problem: when you use it from a bigger account, it doesn't affect the smaller account's engagement. That's where the issue comes in. However, you have the exposure, and so it doesn't matter. If you're not really focused too much on engagement, it's perfectly fine. What matters here is the exposure, which is what you need to grow, and which is what she needed to grow, and which is what I needed as well.
So basically what you're saying is that if you're a brand, what you'd want to do is have the influencer post and collaborate with you, because they in theory
Mhm.
have a bigger audience. So you gain followers, whereas the influencer in this example would gain views or likes.
Yes. And what also, just to add on to that, it's not even just about the bigger audience or the person that has the bigger audience. A company might have a bigger following, or a brand might have a bigger following, or they might have an equal following. Here's the thing: Instagram's not showing our own followers. They're only showing 5% right now, currently 5% of our audience, our own content. So how do you maximize content views? How do you maximize reach? The best way to do that is to leverage someone else's audience. And the way to do that is the collaboration tool, which is how we did it. After using the collaboration tool, we gained, I mean, tons and tons of views, tons and tons of followers. From up until we started doing this, my page was getting about, I think, 70 to maybe 90,000 views per reel. And it would vary. Sometimes I'd get 50,000 views per reel, and it was very slowed down. It was very dead, basically, the page. Once we started posting together, 250,000, 300,000, 400,000 views, and so on. We started getting crazy amounts of views, crazy amount of engagement, and then all of a sudden, one video did really well. And by that, I mean, it went semi-viral. And I call it I say semi-viral because it didn't hit over 10 million views. I count 10 million as basically going viral. And then the rest of the engagement, which I'll describe later. But one video got about 5 million views.
Wow.
Great. And it did fantastic. It had about almost 7,000 saves, about 8,000 shares, which again is great, but I've gotten those kinds of shares and stuff before. So we still kept posting. We were like, you know what? This is not the end. We need to keep trying this. About, I think, 3 or 4 days later, we post another video. This one goes viral. This one is currently standing at around 13 or 14 million views. But here's
So the thing that I think is wild about that is you're talking about going from 200,000 views to now, what did you say? Did you say 13
now
million?
millions.
Yeah. So,
13,
so
yeah.
that, I mean, that's huge, right? That'd be, I think any brand would be happy to have 13 million views. I would be very happy to have that.
Yes, absolutely. And being able to get to that 13 million is great. But then we're looking at other insights. We're looking at our analytics. We have over 500,000 shares on that post. Shares, which is incredible. And it was a funny post. So again, a lot of factors play into this. The first video that went semi-viral was a simple transition post for clothing. The second one was a funny meme-like post.
Right.
So it was more shareable. But the fact that people shared it 500,000 times and then saved it close to, I think, 300,000 or 400,000 times. Again, ridiculous amount of engagement right there. And
but that I think shows that not only are you hitting the For You page, but like the content is so good that everyone else, people are sharing it as well, right? So, I mean, that's sort of
yes.
No matter what it is, you have to start with good content, right? But I think two things that I pick up on from what you're saying is that both of those videos that went viral also feel very TikTok-y, if that makes sense, where a lot of, a lot of people on TikTok now are putting more than one person in their video, kind of that post-COVID area.
Mhm.
And then, you also think about the entertainment and the funny that always does well no matter what. So thinking about leaning into those trends that you're seeing on other platforms are actually helping you um, take advantage of the Instagram algorithm as well.
Yes, and I think here's and exactly what you just said, but I think here's where that little caveat is, instead of just leaning into a trend and then completely copying a trend, I would say figure out your own version of a trend.
Right.
Figure out your own version of what you think will do well. Because people like, I mean, yeah, on TikTok, mostly everyone that will follow a trend, their posts might do well. But what if now you took that to a different level? What if you try to do better than what that post did and experimented with it? If you're already down and low when it comes to views and stuff, you have a lot of opportunity here to test things out.
Mhm.
And so definitely put more people in your videos if you have that opportunity. Definitely use the collaboration tool with someone else. When I say growth, my page went from 524,000 to now over 500. I think it's at 532,000 now. But my wife's grew exponentially. In 1 month, she went from around 6,900 to today 20,000 followers.
I mean, that's unbelievable.
And we had another video go viral last week, and that we posted last week. Let me also add that we posted this video last week. It stayed at that. I think it stayed at that at a 240,000 view level for about 6 days, and all of a sudden, for no reason whatsoever, now it's at 2 million views.
That's so
So
wild.
it can get picked up. It can like, and I think that's where I have to say, don't delete videos. You never know when something will start doing better or when the Instagram algorithm will pick it up.
Pick it up. Yeah.
So if something doesn't do well, just let it sit there. Even if you don't want it to, even if you don't like, if you're just like, oh my God, this is ruining my engagement, it could be like our other post that went to 14 million views or 13 million views. That post only did around 300,000 or 400,000 views in the first 3 days,
Mhm.
and then all of a sudden it started picking up.
Yeah.
So you never know when a post will start picking up, and I think that's what's really important for brands, is to stop looking at short term. When brands are out there looking for engagement, when they're looking for content and how it's doing on a regular basis, I think what they need to look at is how are certain posts doing over time versus in the first 24 hours. And I think that's
Absolutely.
where certain brands are losing that traction is, oh, we want right after a creator post, we need analytics 24 hours later, but that might not be it. That might
Yeah.
not be the end all be all. You
That's
might
right.
get more views in 3-4 days, even a week later.
And as the recommendation engine sort of the algorithm takes over even more, I think that will continue to be more important, because that's a trend that we see on YouTube where videos might hang out for a while and then all of a sudden something happens. Or even on some of our performance campaigns, you look at YouTube videos that are still generating downloads and buys and things like that. So the long tail on Instagram seems to be expanding a little bit more past that 24, 48-hour window, which is what we used to see a lot. So,
Absolutely.
I would say you're doing great things over here. You come up with a lot of really cool creative strategies for a lot of our brand partners. And, you're not the only one going viral. We've got viral Adobe videos.
Mhm.
I think two of the videos that we've done for them on TikTok have been the highest performing videos in the company's history. So all that to say, a lot of viral activity happening over at the Social Standard. So if you're interested or you have questions, want to set up some time with Abish, get a creative strategy, whatever you want to do, try to go viral on any platform, hit us up. We'd love to chat.